All right, Josh, are you driving the XJ right now? Because that would work in really well with us talking about lift kits and how to put lifts on vehicles, on Jeeps.
Man, I wish I was in the XJ. I can't tell you how much I miss driving that thing. Unfortunately, I'm in the Honda, much closer to the ground than I wish I was. But
have you considered lifting it, though? I mean, I'm sure you could do a lift kit on a Honda.
Dude, I've actually seen it a couple of times here in Oregon, Gambler 500 cars and that sort of thing. People putting lift kits on all sorts of vehicles that probably shouldn't have them.
Yeah. So I want to talk about lift kits. There's a lot of people, they finally get them a Jeep and they go, wow, I finally got a Jeep. And then they look at it and it doesn't matter if it's an XJ, a TJ, a YJ, it could be their first Jeep, even a CJ. And they want to modify it. I mean, that's one of the things that we love so much about the Jeeps, at least I do, and I believe you do, is the things that you can do to it. And it's just makes it so much more fun to drive and take it off-road. You don't have to go off-road, but sometimes the lift kit, you like that look. You like that feel, being above everybody.
Well, and that's one of the big draws to the Jeep world as it is not just the capability, but the ability to make the Jeep your own. Just how much is out there and available for you to do things to your Jeep, to modify it, to customize it, or whatever that end. It's a $5 billion, that's billion with an M, $5 billion a year plus industry just modifying the Jeeps. So yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
So I think one of the really confusing things about the lift is, back in the day, we always went to the Jeep forums and stuff, and then we would look there and get information, get beat around about the head on some of the questions you would ask. You'd be told to search, Google's your friend and that type of thing. But
right. Let me Google that for you. Yeah.
Seriously though, people would like to know how they go about doing a lift, and it's a confusing thing. And especially if you don't have mechanical abilities, so you would go to the forum and try to find out which is the one. And then when you started getting into it, oh my God, the prices! The prices were like a couple $100 up to thousands of dollars, not installed.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is a lot of people new to the off-roading world in general or Jeeping in general, as they get into the realm of customizing the vehicle, upgrading its capabilities, that sort of thing, you do enter into a bit of a Pandora's box as far as the aftermarket is concerned. I mean, like I said just a minute ago, it's a $5+ billion a year industry. With that kind of revenue being spent on something as specific as Jeep modifications, there's going to be a massive selection out there that's going to make your head spin. And if you haven't done a little bit of due diligence and some research and educating yourself in just what a lift kit is, the options for that specific vehicle that you have, and what it is that you're trying to accomplish, it could be quite overwhelming.
And the thing, I remember us talking about this years ago where we were trying to get advertisers and stuff for the show. And I actually threw out the thing about maybe we should charge for the show. If it's free, it doesn't have as much value to people. But if they have to pay for it, it's like, oh, that's a big deal. And that's kind of what I think about lift kits. I mean, your lift kits are some basic things that lift the suspension lift that lift the vehicle, and is it really worth spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for a lift when you can get basically the same thing for $1,000 or $1,200?
Well, there is a certain degree of you get what you pay for. I
know you love that. I know you love that saying. I always argue with you about it.
Well, because to a certain degree, it's true. And look, I'm speaking from somebody who's done it both ways, gone and installed, quite extensive lift kits on Jeeps that pretty much have all the bells and whistles and all the accoutrements and all that sort of stuff. And then I've done it the other way, where you do it in phases. You kind of nickel and dime it along the way. You do it in bits and pieces, and you kind of eventually get to where you thought that you would never be to begin with. I mean, I remember back with the first time I got the XJ, and I'm like, well, I'm never going to put anything more than 31s on it. I'm not going to go crazy on this thing. Right. Fast forward a few years later, and I'm cutting on it and welding on it, and next thing you know, it's not a daily driver anymore. It's there's an old saying, best laid plans are best laid to rest, because I'm sure it's very common for a lot of people to get what happens, as we call, getting bit by the Jeep bug. And you get into modifying the Jeep, you get out there and start using it, and then you realize that the plans you had for your Jeep are going to change rather quickly. And this isn't the,
it's a learning experience
for everybody, but it is. And you don't know until you know, and you only know the things that you know until you find out the things that you don't know.
Until you know them.
And,
yeah.
Right. And so when you go out there, you're like, well, I didn't know that I need this if I want to do that. Or I need this if I want my Jeep to look like that. And there's a lot of things that go along with lift kits as far as the end result. And I think that's the big key takeaway here in the discussion about lift kits and modifying your Jeep suspension in general is, what is the goal? What is it that you are trying to accomplish? And that goal may change over the course of the first few years of you owning your Jeep. In the beginning,
I think absolutely it does.
In the beginning, it may just be an appearance thing. And then as you get into off-roading a little bit more and you realize capabilities can be limited by certain factors of your suspension, all of a sudden those plans can change rather quickly and dramatically. And that, of course, comes with a price tag.
Yeah, and I guess it's like most things. You can do something cheaper, and it's perfectly fine if you're not using your Jeep for a hardcore off-roading.
Well,
so
I'll
if you just want the lift,
disagree with that. I'll disagree with that because look. I started building my Jeep and I've always been a miser. I am a cheap son of a bitch. Okay, so I'm not going to be the guy that's going to go out there and drop $2,500 on a lift kit. I may nickel and dime that lift kit over the course of a year and a half, piecing it together with bits and pieces that I have found on Marketplace or Craigslist. Hell, my XJ has been built. Half of that thing has been built off of Craigslist. Just because I believe in maximizing your dollar and being able to, I mean, look, Jeeping is not a poor man's sport by any stretch of the imagination. And modifying your Jeep can get very expensive very quickly and can get out of control. That's why they say, Jeep, it's just empty every pocket. That's what Jeep stands for, is because of that $5 billion a year industry in modifying Jeeps. It can get out of control and get expensive very quickly. And so coming from a standpoint of, well, I want to get as much bang for the buck as I can, I'm going to look for used gear. I'm going to look for that secondhand stuff. And it may take me a little while to get what I want, but in the end, I will have pieced together everything I need to modify the suspension in the way that I wanted to get the goals that I'm trying to reach.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to save money by piecing it together yourself. It can cost you more in the long run, depending on how much research you do. But I think that's an excellent way of doing things and keeping the price down. Anyway, what I was saying is, I mean, you can go like with a rough country lift. You get the height, you get the cool of driving around, you get the larger tires. And now there's other things that come along with that. As we like to say here, no modification goes unpunished. But for the most part, you can, get into it and maybe spend $700, not including tires and wheels. But you get into it for $700 and you got a lift, and now you're cruising along and people are looking at you. You're turning around looking at your Jeep as you're walking into the store or work because it just looks so good. But then if you catch the bug like you're talking about, where you're going to start taking it off road and then you start finding out what the limitations are, it's like, well, crap. And I was going to point this out earlier. If you get a lift, generally speaking, that's not the last one you're getting. The danger is always, all I need is a 2-inch lift. And then you go, I should have got a 4-inch lift.
Famous last words. Yeah, no doubt.
Well, it's like the 31 you just said,
Well, let's talk about like some of those stages really quick, Tony. I mean, because a lot of people aren't exactly familiar with, well, what do I get with X or what do I get with Y? And as you enter into the world of suspension modification, there are definitely good, better, and best categories. You definitely have stages and tiers, as it were. And some people may, as they do the research, heard terms like budget boost or long arm kit or adjustable control arms, things like that. And there's, as you get into the bigger and bigger lift kits, meaning more inches above factory height. A 2-inch lift kit, you're not going to have a whole lot of pieces. There's not going to be a lot of components to that kit. And in fact, it may be something very, very simple, can be done in your driveway in an afternoon, definitely less than a weekend's worth of work, and typically done with hand tools. As you get into more and more elaborate kits, you get into the long arm kits, you get into lift kits that have they come with springs, they come with shocks, they come with all sorts of bracketry and hardware relocation kits that move other things like brake lines and steering components and stuff down into other areas to where they're not going to be affected by the new changes in the geometry of the suspension. So there's lots of things that go along with these lift kits as you get into more elaborate or higher lift kits.
So do you remember when Tammy had her JK and she got the lift on it? And then shortly after that lift, within 6 months, I think, she had to get a new Resepa joint, a front drive shaft, because it was chewing up the boot on the Resepa.
That's one of those things that people don't really understand. It's one of those parts that comes with the education of teaching yourself exactly what all happens to your vehicle as you lift the body above the frame or you lift the frame above the suspension. There's a lot of things that start to change, not only in the drivetrain, but also in this steering and the suspension itself. And so as you start modifying the Jeep's characteristics, that appearance will actually change some vital components. So you got to be careful. If it is it just a look thing? Are there capabilities that you're trying to reach? And as you get up in those lift numbers, as you get increase above 2 inches, above 4 inches, above 6 inches in lift over stock height, the amount of elaborate, how elaborate that kit gets is going to increase dramatically. The price is going to increase dramatically. The amount of modifications, things that you may have to cut, may have to drill, the level of intensity of installation is going to change. The amount of tools required is going to change. The time involved is going to change. So, as you go up in height in that lift kit, things across the board change dramatically, not just in price, but in time and in level of modification and in the amount of tools that you're going to need and expertise as well.
Yeah, the complexity. Like, for example, what comes to mind is the TJ and the XJ. When you're lifting it, you have an issue with both TJ and XJ having a slip yoke for the rear axle. The rear drive shaft, and that can cause vibrations if you're not taking in the rear differential angle. So there's things called shims that you have to use, or you get a slip yoke eliminator, which means taking the transfer case out and rebuilding it, basically. And there's also, too, the hack and tap, which isn't as strong, but you don't have to take the transfer case out. I know we're causing your heads to spin out there, newbies. I know. This is kind of the charm. Yeah, this is the kind of the charm of getting into modifying your Jeep. And when you understand it, especially when you've accomplished it, you go, wow, I'm really good at this. I'm doing a lot of mechanical things, and it's working for me, and I understand how things work. So it's a double-edged sword. Absolutely. Once you start getting into this level of Jeep modification, you're entering into a level of educating yourself in terminology and geometry and other things that you otherwise may not have been exposed to or may not understand prior to all of that. And so it's a bit of a can of worms or Pandora's box, as I mentioned earlier. The deeper you get into this, the more involved it becomes, and the larger of a skill set and understanding of what's going on with the Jeep and its components as a whole, the deeper you get into this. So it's definitely something that demands a certain level of respect when it comes to research and education and doing your homework on essentially what it's going to take to reach that goal that you're trying to achieve with the Jeep. Is it just an appearance thing? I'm just trying to go up one tire size and I'll be fine with that. Or is it something a lot more serious? Hey, I want to build this into a serious rock crawler. I want to get into some serious off-roading, and I know that I need to educate myself on what that's going to take. Because it's not just about suspension at that point.
if you're really going to be getting serious into some serious rock crawling and next level of off-roading, you get into a whole nother world as far as traction is concerned. You get into armor requirements and other things as well. And not to mention starting to upgrade the steering and stuff as well, because as you increase the capabilities of your suspension and everything else, you're going to start moving the weak links in the Jeep and suspension and steering around. And so suddenly all that stock suspension that may have had some weak links in it before is now quite strong and beefy. And so where's the weak link now? It might be in your steering. It might be something else. So it might be in the axles. Who knows? These are all the types of things that will come with not only experience, but getting out there and using your Jeep, and of course doing the research and educating yourself as well.
Yeah, you'll find that the weak link you need to engineer for something that's cheap and easy to replace.
It's a level of forethought that doesn't exactly come very quickly or easily. So
no, you think I'm going to fix this thing so it's beefy, nothing's ever going to break. Well, it will break because of you and your skinny pedal and the articulation, or how much you're moving the steering wheel. So speaking of education, let's shelve this conversation for a moment and talk about you, Josh, because to a lot of people that are new to the show, they don't understand where Josh came from. All of a sudden, Josh just popped up, and we mentioned it.
Talking all this Jeep stuff. I don't know who this guy is. I can't.
Why am I listening to this guy? He's not even in a Jeep. He's in a Honda.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
So, Josh, way back whenever the podcast first started, I'm sure it was in 2010 or really shortly after I started the show.
Yeah,
I reached out to some. Yeah, I reached out to some people and asked a group of people if they would be interested in being a co-host on the show. And there was hundreds of people that contacted me. Oh, I'm sorry. That's like that. I've got the zeros in the wrong place. There was one person that reached out and says, "Hey, I'd like to do it." And that was Josh. And people were really, they really enjoyed the show. Yeah, I mean, I think it was shortly around 2010 or so, whenever I reached out, Josh joined the show. And Josh, what was it? Was it 2 years or 3 years ago you had to leave the show?
It was about 3 years ago. Yeah, it was 3 years ago, May. So that would be May of 2023, roughly, is when things kind of took a turn in my life, and I had to step back from the show. I had to get a second job, and ultimately that was the ultimate deciding factor well, that wasn't deciding, it sort of forced me into the situation of having to step back from the show. And best laid plans and all that, I had intended on trying to do some segment production and stuff like that. But my schedule over the last 3 years with my second job and, of course, other responsibilities in main life had changed several times. Not the least of which was, last summer, my mom getting a terminal cancer diagnosis and me moving her into my house, which of course came with a whole host of other things. And there's been
well, you didn't have enough to do. The universe says Josh has too much free time.
Unreal, yeah.
It's funny how it works out that way. Yeah, so, but everybody really enjoyed the chemistry between Josh and I, even though I think we're separated by probably about 15 years. It's like Josh is my brother, and we fight.
Oh yeah,
and we agree, we disagree, and it's just fun, and the audience really enjoys it. So, really, thanks to technology, Josh is busy working along, but he gets to drive sometimes, and now he's on here helping do the co-host position again. So Josh is going to be a regular until things may change, which I don't think so. I think we can work this out, and hopefully you guys are enjoying Josh's his comedy, his information, and just his ability to shoot the shit, frankly.
Yeah, it's one thing that I noticed early and often as we started doing the show is a level of chemistry between us. It was natural, it was organic, it just clicked, and I can't attribute it to any one thing or another outside of just the kind of background that we each had and similar interests. And so,
it just happens. Yeah, I mean, you see it on radio personalities, TV personalities, and sometimes it's the chemistry's there, sometimes it's not. I think quite often it's not. Okay, Josh, let's get back. Let's tie a bow on this lift kit stuff. So the premise of the lift kit discussion was cheap or expensive. I say my final say on this is cheap, because you're going to replace all that shit anyway.
Well,
and you don't know if you're going to be using it off road or not whenever you put it on there.
Yeah, the best thing I'd have to say is that anybody who's in the market for a lift kit is start talking to other Jeepers and really getting an understanding of what your goals are with the vehicle and what it's going to take to reach that, because your ultimate goals are going to determine the path that you take, and that path can be achieved either the cheap way or the expensive way. And so it's going to come down to sort of your budget, your available income, and your goals that you want to reach. And of course, a lot of that can change along the way, as we discussed. But ultimately, to get yourself an understanding of where you want to be, it's going to take talking with other Jeepers. It's going to take a little bit of education, a little bit of time. And we're all about that instant gratification. But trust me, it's worth it spending a little bit of time to figure things out, answer a few of those questions, and get yourself pointed in the right direction before you start pulling the trigger on making those purchases.
All right, guys, in this roundtable, we're going to be talking about cheap versus expensive lift kits on a Jeep. Is the extra money worth it for real off-roading, or are you mostly paying for the name and a better warranty? What specific differences have you felt in articulation, handling, noise, or braking parts? I mean, stuff like ride quality, durability, and handling. I mean, ride quality really in a Jeep, but I mean, if you can have ride quality and great off-road ability, I say that's great. You can do it. All right, so let's start with Steve-O. Steve-O, tell us about your Jeep and your lift.
All right, I got a 2019 JLU Rubicon. Back before they had I think it's the X edition. I went with the Mopar lift. Basically, I was kind of looking around, and I decided I wanted to go something that was engineered for the Jeep for that one. And then I also wanted to make sure I maintained ride, as at the time it was my daily driver. So I didn't want to go too crazy. Back in the day, it was 2020 when I did it. It was 1,300. Right now they're going for around 1,900.
Right.
But again, the most expensive part of my whole lift was actually the new wheels and tires, because no point putting a lift on unless you put bigger tires, which the tires are what going to give you that ground clearance anyway. So the whole point of the lift is the bigger tires. The tires are what get you above the obstacles.
Right. Exactly. Was did you self-install the lift kit?
I did. Dan, who's on here, helped. Another buddy who had done the Mopar kit on his Jeep helped us because he had done it. So I figured I'd grab him as a resource, because he knew where all the little tricks were that he had to overcome. So made it a lot easier and a lot quicker to do.
So was it a driveway or home garage install?
Yeah, it was a garage install, crawling around on the floor.
Yeah. So it can be done. You don't have to have a shop do it. You don't need a lift to put the vehicle up on. I mean, those things are nice, but you were able to do it. It saved a bunch of money in the process.
It also helped to have an 18-year-old son who I could throw under there and do the hard stuff. He did a lot of that, because I was just like, here, get under there, because he can contort a lot better than I can. Well,
that's a good thing for him to go through too. Gives him the confidence and ability to do something like that. And I don't know. I mean, I did some work on my dad's vehicle back when I was like 16 years old, and it was a confidence builder for me, because my dad trusted me to work on his daily driver, and it really made me feel good about myself.
Yeah.
All right. Would you change the lift now? Would you have gone with a bigger lift, or maybe a more expensive lift?
No, I'm very satisfied with it. I have this soft top, and right now I have only an inch of clearance because of the bump in the soft top getting into the garage, and I do not want to park it outside. My whole thing is, if I go bigger, obviously I'd want 37-inch tires, which also gets you into regearing. Just a lot of other. It's again, no, like you say on the show, no modification goes unpunished, right? I mean, I had the 410s in there. They do great. I mean, I had her up to, 85, 90 the other day, moving along the highway. But going to bigger tires, I'd have to regear, and that's where it gets to be a really start to pour some money in. That's something I will not do myself. I've never done it. It's not something I'm on YouTube either.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty cool too, because the Gladiator 35s, 410s, my Gladiator, I remember following Bill up to Moab one year, and he's got the 392. He had passed somebody, and I went to pass him, and I wanted to get around him, and I looked down, and I think it said 107 on the Gladiator, and it was doing just fine with that 2-inch Mopar lift and 35s and 410s. So
yeah,
I was surprised I was moving that fast, frankly. But anyway, all right, Dan, let's go over to you again. Make, model, year, and lift.
All right, I got a 2012 JKU Sahara, and it was probably about 8 years old, fresh with COVID money that I put in a Teraflex 2.5-inch ST. So it's their street trail, kind of a dual purpose type of lift. I didn't go the cheapest route. I didn't go the most expensive route, but it was somewhere solidly in the middle that had enough of the required pieces that would keep you out of trouble. So it had longer control arms, it had the adjustable track bar, the rear track bar relocation bracket, new sway bar links, exhaust spacers to clear the drive shaft, which was actually the hardest part of the install, was to get all of the bolts out in places where you can't get drills in because everything was rusted.
Especially after 8 years and in the winter and the salt and the stuff. I can imagine that was a nightmare.
Right. And then one rear shock bolt. Of course, it's got to be the absolute last bolt, and that was Steve's. I give that to him. So that's probably why it took so long. But
fuck you.
So
we put map gas on that thing. We put a whole can of
BB Blaster.
BB Blaster. I mean, it got to the point where I just grabbed the mini sledge. I said, "You're coming out," and I went to town on it. But I'll tell you what, I couldn't move for 2 days because it was on his garage floor, lying on my back.
Yep. And I did amaze myself that anything that was stuck, I was able to get unstuck. So it took 2 days just to get the exhaust spacers in. But I guess what helped me was Extreme Terrain, I think, had installed videos on this exact same lift. So I did that probably half a dozen times. And of course, it goes much smoother on a nice clean Jeep with no rust and crap on it. But but I mean, it was step by step, like hour-long video, and that helped a lot.
Well, actually, some people may be concerned about that. Maybe they have an older Jeep, they would like to put a lift on it, but they live in the Salt Belt. And it can be done. It's frustrating as things that are, but it's a problem, and you work through it and you get it done. So did you do your lift before or after Steve did his Mopar lift?
I did mine before.
Okay.
So we had some familiarity then when we got into Steve's.
Did you see that you would have gone maybe Mopar if you had seen the Mopar before, or are you happy with the lift you went with?
I was fine with Teraflex. I don't know if Mopar made it 2.5, but I mean, Teraflex is good. It's a known brand.
Good company. Yeah.
Brand. I may have taken another look at MetalCloak. I don't know if I would have, depending on what the price was, if I would have gone the extra. But the most expensive part was the shocks, because mine came with Falcon shocks. I really thought hard about, do I skip the shocks and go with something a little less expensive?
Right.
I was thinking a lot about the Rancho shocks.
Yeah.
And I had Rancho on before on my TJ, and people were talking about the adjustable Rancho, saying they're the absolute best bang for the buck on aftermarket shocks. They're not the best, but they're for the money and the performance. You can't beat it. So I almost went that route, but I stuck with the Falcons.
Yeah. So any plans to change anything? Maybe lift it up higher using new coils? Anything that you're planning on doing, or are you sticking with what you got?
I'm sticking with what I got. If I go up, I've got to go out, so it's longer control arms again. I don't really need, again, for what we do around here and what we have, and I don't need the performance to really throw any more money into that. So, plus it fits in my garage.
Okay. Let's go over to Ralph. If Ralph is ready to unmute and answer a question. Ralph, how about you? What do you got, make, model, and year Jeep, and what lift?
Well, hey, y'all. Haven't seen y'all in a while. So I got a 2020 Jeep Gladiator Mojave. First time getting an actual premium Jeep, so that was a big change. So as of right now, I did a 2.5 Teraflex Alpine IR. Got full steer smarts in the front. I retained the original shocks since I had just bought it. And I like it a lot. It's gotten me through a lot that I want to. I put a oil pan skid, and it's been fun. And I can get in the garage.
Yep. Have you done any off-roading with it?
Oh yeah.
How does it perform for you? Are you happy with your selection?
Yeah, I haven't had too many issues. Usually, if it scrapes, it scrapes. They say something about the it maxes out the shocks if you go too far on, but it's been all right. Usually, I just disconnect the sway bar. I would like to get what's it called, the anti-rocks.
Oh yeah,
the next. Yeah, that's the next thing. I've heard the hardened one does fine for highway travel since I do a lot of highway. So we'll see. Sorry, just taking the trash.
No problem. No problem. Well, good. And come more often. We'd like having you here. All right. So let's. I'm sorry.
Did he say what size tires he had, or did I miss it?
Oh, sorry. 37s on not Raceline. It's something else. It's like one tier down. But yeah, they're expensive.
And they're getting more expensive as the time moves forward. All right, so Roger, what do you got? What make, model, a year? And you've kind of got I'm not talking bad about it, but you kind of have a bastardized JKU now that Greg Henderson, unofficial use only, has heavily modified. I don't think that changes the ability of the rig. I think it still would still be considered a JKU. But what make, model, and year Jeep do you have?
The 2017 Rubicon Recon, but it's got MetalCloak 3.5-inch game changer on it. But then I changed out like all the steering components or steer smarts. It's got Hutchinson beadlocks all the way around it on 37s, fully skid plated. So I mean, I kind of went a little overboard with the MetalCloak. It's got the MetalCloak fenders on it also, front and rear.
Mm-hmm. Have you wheeled it since the conversion to a mini pickup?
Oh, absolutely. He wheeled it at EJS, and one of the concerns it has for on the road is that the ass end is extremely light now. But when it comes to off-road, the ass end is extremely light, and it works really well. We tackled some pretty good obstacles this year at EJS, and it did everything I threw at it, so it did really well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I don't know if there's anything up on unofficialuseonly.com, but is this I know this is something that Greg has been working on. Is it the TAC system? Is that what it's called?
TAC 2 is what he called it, but yeah, there's a couple of videos and photos of it from EJS on there, and from back when he was doing stuff or doing part of the build. But yeah, TAC 2 is what he was calling it.
Mm-hmm. And if you guys are familiar with the Brute, the AEV Brute, I would say this is similar. But this, and correct me on any of this, I haven't talked to Greg in a while, but I believe that Greg's goal is to make a conversion kit for JK and JL, I believe, to turn it into a little truck. But you can do it all from your garage at home without any. It's all bolt-on, is what he's trying to accomplish with that. Is that correct, Roger?
That's kind of his goal. Yeah, I mean, you still got to cut the body in half, but that's kind of what his goal was. Yeah. We haven't talked about that the whole goal of it in a while, but that was the goal initially, was to make a kit that anybody could do themselves.
Very, very cool. So with the lift that you purchased and you've been using, any changes that you would have made? Maybe go with a different brand, higher lift, anything you would have done differently?
I don't know. I might have. My wife's got on her 21 JL, she's got the Teraflex lift, and I've thought about trying, putting a Teraflex lift on it, but she's also got the geometry correction brackets, which I think are a good idea. And like AEV and Teraflex, they both offer those. Maybe others do too, but yeah, I've thought about going with a Teraflex if at any point in time I ever decide to change it out. But not saying there's anything wrong with the MetalCloak.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with it.
So I believe Steer Smarts also have the geometry correction brackets now.
You're right. That's the other one.
All right, so let's get over to Rick. We're keeping Rick from working, so we need to find out from Rick what make, model, and year Jeep do you have, and what lift. And I don't know if you want to start with the beginning lift or the lift that you currently are on. Maybe it's the same.
I'll go through I'll try to make it quick. I got a 04 TJ. It's a sport. When I bought it, it had a little 2-inch puck lift on it.
Oh, no.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know when I got it that's what it had, but it did. It had that on there, but it only had 30-inch tires on it, so I don't know what the lift was about because it didn't need it. But you know, it's that's how it was. It's pretty much stock. Matter of fact, that's how it got its name, was because it was so little, and two 4 doors on 40s parked on both sides of me. And a lady walked past and said that's like a little micro Jeep, and that's just kind of stuck. And
the way God intended Wranglers to be, small and nimble.
Yep, that's how it's got its name. But so as I started wheeling and figuring out what was going on, I went through several processes. I swapped out the Dana 35 and the Dana 30 for a couple TJ Dana 44s out of a Rubicon. Did that, and that was pretty much a straight for straight swap, even though the control arms were adjustable, and but it was still all pretty much bolt on. Really wasn't a lot of cutting or welding. And then there for a little while, I tried an experiment, thanks to Greg Henderson. I actually put Gladiator control arms on this thing, and which required me cutting the brackets off and moving them a little bit. And when I did that, I also did a 5-inch stretch, and that was pretty interesting. Thing rode great on the highway, wheeled great, but you know, it was just kind of a cheap experiment. I tried. I got the control arms for free. I think from Barnes 4x4, I think I spent $200-300 on brackets and some hardware to match everything. But I was really happy with that. It was pretty good. And at that time, I was
not happy enough.
Not happy enough. Well, I already knew I was going to a different place, and and at that time I had 35-inch tires, and drove it all over the country, wheeled it all over the country, and had a blast with it. Headed towards my end goal. Now I'm on the, as you can see here, I'm on 38-inch tires. I just installed, going from a bolt-on kit to a fabrication kit, or as Tony Pellegrino calls it, a system. He calls them systems rather than kits. But so it requires you cut everything off, and this is all cutting and welding and new brackets and everything. So you weld I've got the Legend double triangulated in the rear and the Legend 3-link in the front. The rear, the double triangulated means I don't have a track bar in the rear now. There's a cross member you put in there. All the geometry's built into that. You just figure out how long you want your control arms and do that part. You just got to make sure you got about 9-10 inches separation. Whatever. I think it's 25% of whatever tire you're going to have on there. So I think I went 10 just in case I go with 40s later. So anyway, you just like I was. I've said before, I didn't do very good on geometry when I was in school, so I'm glad he got that all figured out. But I'm still having to learn some geometry. I've also went. You can't see them right now, but I've got 2.5-inch, 14-inch travel Bilstein pullovers. I've got. I put air bumps on it now. I've got a nice little shiny thing over here we will talk about that. I don't know if I'm going to get on before his big trip are going on. Let me see. I've got now I've got JL Rubicon axles under it, which are wider axles, which allowed me to put bigger tires on there. And I've also got a combination of GenRight, Steer Smarts, and RPM steering between. I got GenRight drag link with the twisted pitman arm, and I've got a GenRight track bar, and I've got a an RPM center with Steer Smart tie rod ends for my tie rod. I've also got Rock Jock. I got rid of the aluminum knuckles, and I've got Rock Jock high steer knuckles on there. So, yeah, this build here is this iteration, this 0.3 or 0.4, whatever iteration this is it's been a pretty good jump up.
Very nice. So basically what you're saying is when you go to AutoZone to buy anything for it, they quit because it's a 50-minute story.
I don't even bother telling them what I'm putting on it. I just there for a while I had one of the major upgrades that I did to this when I put the TJ Rubicon axles under it is I did the WJ knuckle swap. WJ is the Grand Cherokee,
right? And
with that knuckle swap, you get away from that Y link or that Y steering system, and it's an actual two-rod steering system. And that was amazing. It got me bigger brakes, which I needed because I had brake fade going down a real sharp hill and bounced all the way. And well,
now you've got disc front and rear, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got JL Rubicon axles all the way around, so
that should make a huge. Did you almost go through the windshield when you first stopped?
Well, when I put that WJ brakes, which was disc all the way around and between all that, yeah, it made a huge impact on
I bet you really. And I think stopping is underrated. It's almost as much underrated as the headlights on TJs because they're dim.
Right, and this doesn't have ABS on it either. So very first time I got in I got a brake situation, I had to remind myself real quick, don't lock the brakes up.
Oh, absolutely. So let me ask you this: I saw a video the other day of these people that were driving a 1,500 horsepower a car that was just beautiful, and they lost the brakes. And quite often what happens in builds, Jeep builds, especially TJ, XJ, YJ days, is that you get everything working, it's running great, but you don't hook up the emergency brake. So you don't have a mechanical brake backup. Is your emergency brake currently configured to work?
Yes, that's one of the main things. But it actually has two-door JK brake cables that goes for the emergency brake. That's what fit for this and worked.
Very, very cool. Well, you have a hell of a build going there. We really enjoy watching that, and we got a couple of people here that are doing those that aren't with us tonight. But it's always fun seeing that and living vicariously through other people. So I don't know that I can even say. I mean, you had a cheap lift came with the TJ. And now you have, I don't want to call it expensive because a lot of it you've built and pieced together. So I would guess that you think expensive is more the way to go, depending on how you're going to use the Jeep.
I think what I've learned, and of course people aren't going to do, I mean, it's too hard to want to put bigger tires on there and shortcut. But the thing is if you shortcut and go with the medium or cheap, when the whole time you're not going to be happy till you get to a certain level, the best thing to do is be patient, save your money. You will save a lot of money if you just wait and get the one you want. Now, the Legend kit, what these guys paid for the Teraflex and for their lifts, it's about the same price range as what they paid. I mean, I'm right in there the same price. Now, the control arms, I bought all the control arms myself. Now, and that didn't include the shocks. But as far as all the bracketry and all the Johnny joints and everything that I needed to attach to this, it was right in about the same price range.
Yeah, and when you say you bought the control arms, you bought the tubing and you put the Johnny joints on it and welded it up. So I'm sure that saved you some money. This is, I don't want to make it where you can't sleep at night, but everything's tacked in right now and you're going back and welding everything in all the way. Whenever you actually go to leave the first time in your Jeep, are you going to be worried about what did I miss? There's some heavy tacking on there. Did I get that one? Did I get this one? I don't weld, but I still do that when I add stuff to the Jeep. Did I torque this? Did I add this on there right? So,
well, the way my brain works is when I lay under the Jeep and I'm looking up at it, I've got literally a little grid pattern going in my head, and I go through and check every little box. What's in this area, and I go through and I mark all the bolts, make sure they're all torqued. I'll double, triple check all the welds.
That's the way to do it. Yep.
And I just I start at the rear and I work all the way to the front. Every bolt, every place that I've touched or messed with, I go back and recheck it.
Okay. So you do not have to be as insane as Rick is about his Jeep, but man, you got to be proud of what you've accomplished so far and getting out there for the first time with all these modifications. And you're not done with it, are you?
No, I'm pretty stoked with it. Well, like I was saying, I got a little shiny over in the corner. I've got an Atlas 2-speed that I wish I had time to get it in before this trip. I just don't think I'm going to be able to get it in, but that's going to be going in.
You're going to love that.
And then next year, the project is I'm cutting it in half and stretching it to an LJ length. So that's going to be next year's projects, and so that's coming in the future. But unlike Steve-O and Dan and I'm not sure if Ralph if his is a daily driver. This is my toy. I don't have an RV and a boat and 4-wheelers and all jet skis and all that stuff.
Those.
I wish I did too.
Yeah, I got this. This is what I got. This is my toy.
Yeah, good job, Rick. We really enjoy seeing you work on it.
Tony, I'm glad we had a chance to hook up because you're not going to believe what I just saw. Well, it wasn't today. It was a couple days ago, but I'm glad I was able to connect with you so I could share this with you. This is like the ultimate man cave. Now, it's not quite as cool as Chuck's Jeep and laminated floor and stuff that he had in his office. Right. I mean, that was pretty sweet. But this is pretty cool. Granted, it's not Jeep related, but this guy has the ultimate man cave. We're doing this flood repair in this 3-story condo. This guy had a hose bib on the outside of his house, leak inside the wall, completely flooded the whole main floor. And so we're in there doing a bunch of work. And he's like, "Do you guys want to see my man cave?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, of course." He takes us upstairs and it's up on the top floor. He opens the door and it's all painted. It's all, done up just to the nth degree. This guy is a big gamer and he's a Star Wars collector. And this guy has like signed Boba Fett helmets and like every helmet from like every series and every show and every episode and stuff like that. He's got a full-size Stormtrooper, all these display cases with all this cool stuff in it. And I mean, it is awesome. The walls are all painted. I mean, it looks like a set out of Star Wars, if anything. And I mean, it's just one of the coolest man caves that I've seen in a long time.
So this is great, but you mentioned the Star Wars aspect of it. So I figured this guy doesn't have a female in his life, and this Jeep Talk Show $1 million idea is perfect for him. So I don't think I've ever shared this with you before, Josh. Whenever you go to use the bathroom, and I think this is what all men do. I don't think men, unless they're married, sit down to pee. I think that they go in, lift the
Tony,
toilet.
what you do in your bathroom is your business, brother.
Well, that aligns perfectly with what I'm going to tell you. So when you go in there, you lean and you put your hand on the wall, maybe 2 hands, and then lean over.
I've been to some sports bars where they've got like a handprint on the wall that you're supposed to.
Okay,
there's even a couple where they have a hand actually sticking out. You're supposed to I got
one better. Make it a silicone boob. So you literally, have a boob on the wall, which is a natural. This is better than the fly on the.
I was going to say, talk about a fly on the wall. I'd take a boob on the wall over a fly on the wall.
No, you know how they put the little fly on the urinal where they make people aim at the toilet at the urinal. But anyway, so you put a boob on the wall. It's silicone boob. Now this is perfect for a man cave. Follow along with me here. So you got a bathroom in the man cave. You got to have a bathroom in the man cave because, you know, with the beer and everything else is going on, you need to get there to do your business. So unbeknownst to the other men in the man cave, you have a clock, and it's a little bit hidden. It's off at the time, but you have a clock, which is a counter, a countdown or a count up timer above the door. When somebody goes in there, closes the door, the timer starts going. So
you got 3 minutes.
If they're in there longer, perfect. If they're in there longer than 3 minutes, when they come out, they have all this.
You were playing with it, weren't you?
So, and then the next thing you do, the next level to that is that whenever they say, no, hell no, I wasn't doing that, you turn on the black lights inside the bathroom.
Oh no. See, that's when your man cave bathroom turns into a Rorschach painting, and it's just like
a crime scene.
No.
So okay, and maybe he didn't do anything. Okay, so what you do?
Well, see, this is why you could only have one boob and not two.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So well, but you know, switch hands. So there's the other thing. The last insult is you put paint in drips and splatters and stuff, but it's not visible except under UV light.
Oh, God. There's a bunch of hot glue on the wall or something.
So, I mean, this is all kind of fun. And when people stop going to your bathroom, you know it's worked.
So, unfortunately, this segment has cost us over 30% of our female listener base, but that's okay.
Oh, females don't listen to us. It was safe. I think some females would love that. I think they would love to find out why their husbands are staying in the bathroom for 45 minutes.
It's with all these $1 million ideas, Tony, it's any wonder you're not rich.
Well, maybe it's due to this that I'm not rich. Speaking of
That's
being
kind of
rich,
where I was going.
Yeah. Speaking of being rich, you need to regale us with your latest, you. What is it today, Josh?
Yeah.
What are you upset about today?
Well, this sort of ties in a little bit to one of the first ones that I did. You guys might remember my beef with people who can't really accelerate onto from an off ramp onto the freeway at a decent speed. You know, the whole merging and everything like that. Well, there's one that happened recently to me that kind of got to me, and I was like, yeah, this will be perfect for a you because this guy was an absolute and not only was he pissing off the people behind him, but virtually everybody else in the intersection as well. Now, you've probably seen these kinds of out in public and around. They're a certain specific kind of breed of who needs to be shamed more than anybody else. And it's likely because they can't get out of first gear ever. And this is the kind of person who, when the light turns green, they take almost an entire cycle to make their way through the intersection. I saw this guy in this Nissan Murano yesterday who the light turns green. He's making a left turn through the intersection. There's nobody oncoming. There's no reason for him to take seriously for a minute and a half to get the left turn coming through the intersection. Everybody is honking at him. I'm honking at him. I'm not behind him. I'm in front of watching this whole show unfold. And this guy is he must have been 3 sheets to the wind. I don't know. But this guy took so long to make it through the intersection. An entire cycle had gone through. Not a huge long light anyways, probably about a 45-second, maybe a 60-second cycle at most. But this guy took the entire cycle. The light was red. People were still going because he was going through that intersection at about 3/4 of a mile per hour. You get the out of the way. People have places to go. There's a shopping center in there. Grandma probably had ice cream in the back seat. It's probably half melted by the time you get through the light. For fuck's sake, just make your way through things. Push the skinny pedal. It's not that hard.
I don't know. I mean, I'm reliving this. I've got PTSD from exactly what you're talking about. I don't know why. And why do people leave such a big gap between them and the car in front of them? when they're making a turn.
Yeah,
it's a light. Everybody wants to get through a light. It's not. I don't think anybody wants to sit at a light. So move. Put the phone down.
Well, and I don't understand why there's so many people. This could probably dovetail into another you. It's why people wait, because the light turns green. The entire line of traffic should move as the light
immediately.
Turns green. Don't wait for the car in front of you to have 4 car lengths of space before you finally take your foot off the brake and push the skinny pedal. For fuck's sake. Nobody knows how to drive anymore. Nobody has any kind of, it doesn't have to be a sense of urgency.
Well, they're not motivated.
Tokyo drift around every corner and it's 80 miles an hour everywhere we go. Would be nice to be fun, but no, but I am expecting a little bit of, I don't know, courtesy, common sense, a little bit of consideration for, I don't know, everybody else around you on the road. It's like all these people are driving completely oblivious to the fact that there are other people around them. And it just boggles my mind how you want to go through your day so lackadaisically that you are pissing so many people off around you by your ineptitude and unwillingness to have even the slightest degree of awareness of what's going around you. Situational awareness is one of those dying commodities that is just absolutely evaporating out of society faster than things like common sense or pride and workmanship.
The thing that gets me is whenever you're going down 30 mile, 40 mile hour road, 3-lane, whatever it is, 2-lane, and you're by all these like McDonald's and strip centers and stuff like that, and some instead of going out where they can get to a light and have a protected go across the street or make a turn, they want out. They want straight out of McDonald's, and it's busy. It is bumper to bumper, and then somebody stops to let them through, and then you find out they want to cross over 3 lanes, all going the same way. They want to cross those 3 lanes to either go straight across or get into the median so that they can go, the opposite way you're going. And this lets them in
out of the driveway that says no left
thinking
turn.
Thinking they're being a great guy, but they're making that great guy decision for the literally 15 cars just in your lane behind them. And the car that gets in there, they edge out, and then the center lane finds out they're coming across, and they have to make the decision if they're going to stop, and they probably don't because they have a decency about the people behind them. So now you're stuck because this one guy was being a great guy by letting them in. Those people. Look, don't let them in.
I am that great guy. Unfortunately, I've got a bit of a heart.
How dare you?
Okay, I'll let you. But there's a caveat. Let me finish. I only will do that if it's at an intersection and the driveway's right there. If I'm already stopped at a light, I see the lights turning red. I haven't completely come to a stop yet. Maybe I stop a little short. I give a little bit of space. I wave you through. But I'm not going to stop on a green light in the middle of traffic to let somebody out of a driveway through an arterial road or something like that. No, you got to wait your turn or go through the parking lot, make your way to the intersection, and make your way through the light like everybody else.
Right.
But yeah, there's time, place, and manner. Time, place, and manner.
No, I disagree because
those are 3 words.
We're not talking about a wreck where the traffic is 30 minutes behind you. It's lights that are on the main thing, and all you have to do is go. And those people that are trying to get out, the traffic will open up enough behind us that were on there trying to get someplace, and that they can pull in. Hey, you're the one that made the decision to go to McDonald's. You're the one that made the decision to come out where you're coming out. It's on you to wait your turn, not for some kindness of somebody that's going to be up everybody else behind you. So, I mean, I'm sure there are situations, but generally speaking, that the best thing to do is just keep moving and let them have the space behind everybody else.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
No, you could disagree. You did disagree. You're one of those that let people in.
I mean, but again, time, place, and manner. I mean, if it's not going to up anybody else, if I'm not going to off anybody behind me,
you think like I do. It's fine if I do it.
Yeah. Do as I say, don't do as I do.
Yeah. All right, Josh, speaking the people thinking it's fine if they do it, let's get to the Nikki G. Oh, by the way, did you know that Nikki G has a Jeep podcast called the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast? For the listener that doesn't have much time on their hands, or no, has a short attention span. Sorry, Nikki G.
Yeah, there it is. When the Jeep Talk Show is too much to chew on, you've got a little Nikki G you can eat. A little snack, a little nibble.
Yeah. So you need to go over there and find out the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast with Nikki G. All right, take it away, Nikki G.
From the mind of Nikki G.
Hey, this is Nikki G, everybody's favorite Appalachian American, and they have an old folklore out here in the Appalachian Mountains. They say if you hear a voice, don't answer it. It's Cherokee Indian folklore, skinwalkers that try to lure you in the forest so they could eat your skin. I don't believe in all that, but that's not why I'm here.
Hey.
I don't believe in all that, but that's not why I'm calling. I'm calling to tell you that
Hey. Hey, you.
But that's not why I'm calling. I'm calling
Hey.
Will you knock it off? I'm trying to tell a joke. I'm trying to tell you that I once bought a sweater and it was full of static electricity. So I returned it to the store. Yeah, they gave me another one, free of charge.
Boo. Boo.
Yeah, I suppose you could do better.
2 slices of bread got married. The wedding was amazing until someone decided to toast the bride and groom.
That wasn't much better.
Can I eat your skin now?
No, you cannot. I guarantee you I taste kind of funny.
No, you don't.
All right, boys and girls, I'll chat you later and have a good one. Bye.
All right, Josh. Well, that's another great episode of the Jeep Talk Show. So good to have you back. We talked a little bit this episode about why you're gone, why you're back, and why you're recording from a car. We certainly appreciate the effort because you're a busy man, a lot busier than I am, and I appreciate you taking the time. And hopefully the viewers appreciate you taking the time here as well. And I appreciate Nikki G being here as well. Nikki G, every stinking episode for at least the last 14 years. All right.
Yeah,
so
way cool. I love me some Nikki G.
Yeah. All right. So stay with us with next week for our next flagship episode here with Josh, and give us a little comment. Go over to JeepTalkShow.com/voicemail and leave a video comment about Josh coming back. Josh, any plans this weekend for 4th of July, or are you trying to pull in some extra hours, get some extra pay?
Yeah, it's all about the work shifts, unfortunately. So it's this year I'm not going to be blowing up as much stuff as I have in years past.
Oh,
so,
I forgot about that.
Unfortunately, it's nose to the grindstone this weekend.
Yeah, well, we certainly appreciate
I will try and get a chance to at least drink some adult beverages and grill some meat, though. So that's going to happen for sure.
Well, that's going to freak them out in Amazon. You'd have to disable the smoke detectors.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have a great time. Thanks for joining us on this week. Again, go over to JeepTalkShow.com/contact so that you can find out all the ways to reach out to us. We'd love to see your voicemails. So Josh actually did the very first one, and we had it. I think we put it up on social media. So give it a try, and we'll see you next week. Josh, thanks a lot. Drive safe.
All right, we'll see you guys again. Take care.
Hey everyone, welcome to Jeep Talk Show video voicemail. We're out here at our campsite having a blast. Send us your video feedback at JeepTalkShow.com voicemail. We can't wait to hear from you.
You're my friend. You're my new friend.
Oh, and this is always the case. I know that you're doing a lot of juggling, and if this is too much for you, you just say the word. My preference is that we keep doing this.
My preference is not forgetting my headset in the car when I'm going to be in the truck all day. So there's been opportunities. It's just I've been a jackass and can't remember what I need to bring.
Well, I hope I'm not sending you a message too early in the morning. I've been waiting for.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
My alarm goes off at 5:45 in the morning. I'm usually out of the house by 6:30. So I'm. It's rare that I'm not at the shop and out of my car by 7. So
a message around 8 wouldn't be a problem for you.
Totally fine.